What exactly are emotions? An emotion is a feeling such as happiness, love, fear, anger, or hatred, which can be caused by the situation that you are in or the people you are with. Emotion is the part of a person's character that consists of their feelings as opposed to their thoughts. When you are an emotional being, your emotions direct your source of feelings. Are we ever schooled in what they are? We are not taught to understand them, how they create our world. Your mental emotions and well-being is your source of inspiration. It's important to understand that building resilience and reducing stress and quality sleep habits will increase strong emotional well-being. Strengthening social connections allows you the support and enhances guidance for emotional acceptance. Coping with loss can be difficult, and it is often dealt with on a personal level. But when shared and understood, it will be a great source of healing. Practicing mindfulness is an ancient practice, and it is the awareness of all that's going on inside and all that's happening around you. This means you're not living your life on autopilot. Becoming aware and more mindful requires commitment and practice. Emotional wellness is about being honest with your feelings, and you can start small with unraveling them, and will evolve into a more cohesive understanding of your current situations and why you are experiencing them. Self-forgiveness and self-healing will be the result. Remember to use your intuition for your moral compass. It will never fail you. It's whether or not you listen to that guidance as to what direction you will follow. Self-doubt, low self-esteem can be debilitating. Forgiveness and self-love allows you to be less judgmental, not only with yourself, but with others. And finally, understanding how you project your emotions onto others and leaving what's yours as opposed to what others' emotions and feeling they are experiencing. Awesome, awesome. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Andromeda 7, your celestial gateway. And thanks for joining us tonight. We have an enlightening show for you all about emotional acceptance. Now, before we get started, please feel free to like, share, and subscribe. The algorithms love it, and we do too. So thank you for that. Welcome, new subscribers. Thank you so much. We greatly appreciate each and every one of you. Now let's welcome our panel and greet our chat room participants. Everybody, I don't think I've ever introduced myself. My name is Lori Cross. I'm also known as Pure Love Ascension. Not many people know my last name. I decided it was time to let you know who I am. I am the executive producer and host of the show, along with my bestie, Teresa D'Antone, production manager, co-host. We have Sophia, our Nordic queen, I would say. Grandpa Brian, our Reiki master. Hope Up Church, our channeler de la mode. She's very good at channeling. Really love that about her. And she's a sweetheart of a gal. Just love her to
Thank
pieces.
you.
And of course, our own scientist dude, Dalibor M. Suki. So wonderful to have you here. Yep. Also, we have a very returning special guest tonight. Ellen Hawkins is with us, and Paul Fraley. And I'm going to let Teresa introduce them, and then we'll greet the chat room. But Teresa, would you be so kind as to introduce our special guest tonight?
Oh, sure, I'd be delighted. Greetings, everyone, and happy Friday. And welcome back,
Happy Friday.
Ellen and her partner, Paul. It's good to have you on board. We are thrilled about this tonight because it's a terrific opportunity to introduce Paul to you as well. Paul and Ellen have been doing this off and on for 40 years or consistently for 40 years, and they represent a spiritual philosophy, if you will, or approach to living that's very much in synchronicity with our Andromeda 7 program and the communities within all my relations in Indiana, as well as the Spiritualist Church in Indiana. And so, what you're seeing on here with it's just about everybody except me, Dalibor, and Lori are from Indiana. So, welcome, Indiana viewers.
Yes, Indiana
Everybody,
rules.
Indiana rocks because it's like the Australia of America, you know, in terms
Yeah.
of spiritual.
Hotbed of spirituality, I would say.
It really is. So we really sync with these folks, and we just enjoy them so much. And turns out I didn't know until recently that Ellen and Paul are also friends of Jim and Heather at All My Relations.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
I had no idea. I had no idea. So
The small world.
they have a connection. They have a connection. Yeah,
Mhm.
and that's something we just keep finding these connections. Susan, you know, like my heart is in Indiana. I left my heart behind in Indiana. Part of it anyway.
Oh,
But anyway, Paul is says that, and he showed this to me recently with my own with part of my own family, is that a numerology chart reveals the life lessons that a person is to face in this current life and also details about past lives. These emotional energies must be addressed in order to bring balance into your life. And once these energies are addressed, you will be able to take control of your life, making your life much easier. Paul's able to point out what is causing damage to your life emotionally, physically, financially, and most importantly, spiritually. So together, they team up. They do these profiles, they do the astrology, they do the numerology, and they do the past life work with you. And they can awaken you to your purpose and bring you to a new level of peace through consciousness. And I would have to agree that what he did with me on my numerology chart sure opened my eyes about the importance and significance of numerology and how it does kind of give you the ability to finally get to that observer perspective and understand how your emotions and why you're on this path, why you're here to do the things you're here to do. When I read mine, when I read someone else that I'm having a lot of conflict with, you know, I was able to look at it and go, ooh, you know, but that was a do-it-yourself kind of chart online where you have a little app. You don't get the intuitive quality that you do from Ellen and Paul when they're in it because they're tapped in too. So there's a little bit of the mathematics behind it, but then there's a whole lot of intuitiveness that I noticed Paul has.
Yes.
So now he could do someone for me and I can connect with that. And but you're able to see one another and you go, oh my gosh, that's so this person. But it takes the angst out of it and it allows you to see and appreciate and accept. And that's what Lori's saying. This is about acceptance tonight and how to flip your how to turn your emotions into something positive. So with that, I'll pass it over to Lori and let her run the show.
You betcha. Okay, real quick, just want to go through the chat. Alexander, the Ganja Shaman, good to see you. Chloe, always a pleasure. Let's see, who else do we have? Mary Wins. Hey, Mary Wins, good to see you as well. Martha Graves, welcome.
Hey, Martha.
You're new here, very. Oh, okay. Good, good, good. Good to have you. Hi, Lee. It's good to see you as well. Wonderful. Okay, let's see. Richard the Red, good to see you. Good, good. Elderberry, hello, Berry Chat. Good to see you. Let's see who else. Got lots of repeats here because I have 2 channels with this. I think that's pretty much it. So yes, everyone, tonight we're talking about accepting responsibility for your thoughts, words, and actions. How do we gain acceptance of them? Why do we have emotions? Mind clutter? How do we release old, outdated thoughts and feelings about ourselves? What do we tell ourselves? What is the story we tell ourselves? Do we objectively observe our thoughts instead of being in control of them? What's this all about, and how do we achieve that emotional acceptance and also emotional balance? I think that's really the question here. Most people are like, "What are you talking about? I don't understand. How do I organize my thoughts into healthy patterns?" And it really is about being aware of them. Paul, what you've got so much knowledge about this. What would you tell someone who's having an awakening and not really understanding, where do I get started? How do I gain control of my emotions? How do I understand them better?
Well, of course, uh, I think it's very uh, important to get yourself charted. And whether it's with me, astrology is wonderful too. There's many avenues, but you got to find out who you are
Hmm.
and how you're functioning, and find out about your wounds and how to heal them. And forgiveness is not something we do, in my understanding. It's something that happens when we understand a situation. And we all need to begin to reach out and try to understand the other person. Understand, as Stephen Covey says, and then seek to be understood. And uh, Laurie, you mentioned about words and things.
Hmm.
So many times people don't think about it, but words are like bullets. Once they're
Hmm.
fired, you can't call them back. So we must learn to think before we speak. It causes so
Hmm.
many issues. And I'm sorry isn't good enough. It still leaves a wound and a scar. You never forget how deep that hurt you when that person who you love, care about, or even a stranger speaks to you in such a way that hits you so deeply.
Hmm.
So if we could all just create a filter for our words, and it's okay sometimes just to say, I don't know right now, but I'll get back with you. And so many times in my past, I always thought I had to have an answer for anything anybody asked me. And we
Hmm.
don't need to do that.
Yeah,
But
so true.
you're so right about words. And
Yeah.
but yeah, to find out what our challenges are and what our wounds are, and there's so many avenues to do this. And uh, we have so many different areas where we store energy from our past lives, from the womb, and so many places. We got to do a little bit of research and find out what happened
Hmm.
and how to deal with that. Does that help explain it a little?
It does. And I can tell you, you did a chart on me. And I could see by looking at my chart, I could see what my challenges were. I could see if I had conquered some of them, most of them actually.
Hmm.
I
Good.
could see what was coming up for me, possibly in the future. I had a lot of sevens in there. And what was that? What does the seven represent again, Paul? What is that really
Uh,
telling someone when
well,
that life path thing comes up?
when it comes up as a challenge
Hmm.
or a karma lesson, it represents a person. I have it. Ellen has it. You have it. Uh, Many people have it. We are very sensitive until we learn to control that, and we fear rejection,
Hmm.
and we also can when that seven challenge comes up every 9 years, we go through a time when that is very prominent until we learn to deal with it. I don't even recognize mine anymore, but
Hmm.
it took a long time for me to do that.
Hmm.
But we have to do that. And also, we who have that seven challenge or karma lesson, we have a shyness about us that a lot of people never see.
Yeah.
They don't realize it, but we are very shy inside,
Mhm.
and that
Mhm.
can be painful also. But that's how that seven works.
Yeah.
But
Now
also,
doesn't
go ahead.
I'm sorry, doesn't that stem from fear? Didn't you mention that shyness is really about the fear of being judged,
Yes,
putting yourself out there?
yeah,
Yeah.
and maybe rejected, and
Mhm.
so yeah, that's how we need to look at that 7. The 7 number within itself is such a great researcher, and a 7 personality that has a life path, they will not quit until they find the answer to things. They're the researchers and pioneers for us in that area.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Can I ask
I
a
think,
question?
yeah, go ahead.
Does that apply to multiples of 7 as well? Because I have a recurring problem in my life with the number 21. Like it pops up over and over again, and it's always bad news for me.
Yeah, the 3.
3 times 7.
Yeah, but with that, we'd have to look and see what year and when that is coming up, and then we can tag it and grab it when it does, and get into your emotions and your feelings about it, and maybe somebody who has hurt you in the past in that particular area, and understand them and let that go, and you can always call me and I'll help you on that if you'd like.
Yeah, I will.
Okay. And did that help answer that a little bit?
Yeah, sort of. I mean, I think I pretty much know where the wind is blowing from, but it's it's one of many confirmations of the fact that yes, numerology is 100% for real, because it's definitely been a force in my life.
Yeah.
Same with astrology.
Yes.
So, and these are all what you could call scientific disciplines, and objectively verifiable and provable using statistical means.
Yeah. And would you mind just giving me your month, day, and year?
Month, September 1968. But I was born on, get this, the 14th, which is 2 times 7.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just going to scratch down here a little about it and see if I can see something. Sick. Yeah, I was just looking at the challenges here. There's that 3 that would come up from 21, you say?
Yeah.
And yeah, and it does. That 3 energy comes up twice in your challenges. And yeah, so that would.
So what does that 3 represent? What is
3 is a number of communication, and it also is a number that needs to look at the timing, once again, of finding a filter, not to make sure we think before we speak. And sometimes we either think too quick and speak too quick and maybe offend somebody, or not give the right answer, or we can, the 3 challenge and karma always sometimes can hold things in until they explode someplace else, or implode, causing themselves to be sick, not letting it out. So we always got to learn to express ourselves. Does that help any?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, and make sure you get in touch with me, and because we're together in this, and I'd like to, maybe go a little deeper with it.
Sure.
I was going to ask, Teresa, go ahead. You had a comment. Go ahead. Please go ahead.
I just wanted to follow up on what both Paul and Dalibor. This numerology chart is, I think I described this once before when I was talking with you and Paul, Lori. It's the roadmap or mathematics behind our emotion, expressed through that part of our consciousness, which is ego. The ego mind, which is that personality. And so it actually maps out all of the personality traits that we intended and chose to bring into our creation of this chapter of our lives for the experiences and the lessons. And when we allow that ego to run wild, or we allow that part of our mind, which is actually the fabric and material of which our thoughts are made of, emotions are the meat and potatoes of our thoughts. And so when you're mapping this out, and what you were just demonstrating with Dalibor, is the being able to understand where those emotions are coming from, how they fit into what we're here to do, and how we can control our thoughts in such a way as to make those emotions work for us. Not to deny ego. We had a show about death to ego. Doesn't really mean kill the ego. It means control, master, self-mastery of those egotistical parts of our personality, so that we understand why it is we're doing that, or why someone else is doing it if we have a chart made with other people, like our family members. And then we can see how we choose to respond in a different way. So it has already, in the past week, it has already changed the way in which I respond to someone that's very close to me in my own household. It already changes my whole idea of how to respect them and where they're coming from. Go ahead, Lori.
And it just shifts the energy when you understand that.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Paul, why do we have emotions? Why do we come here and experience emotions?
Well, I think if we didn't have emotions, when we talk about emotions, when you spread it over the whole spectrum, I think it would probably be a pretty dull life to live. But emotions out of control is what we have to come to terms with. And we must learn to communicate and to accept each other where we are. So many times we want to change our loved ones or whoever to our way of thinking and who we are. And as soon as we change to that, they don't like us anymore. And you know what? You know what that tells you? They didn't like themselves.
Yes.
That's a joke, but it's
it's a mirror thing. Yeah, definitely.
And so that's one of the things. But emotions can be good. Can you imagine not having the emotion of joy or nature or anything? It would just be a pretty horrible thing. And I think the Creator gave us that, but He didn't exactly tell all of us that we had mastered it. So we come back into life trying to get it together. And numerology changed my life. It, many, many years ago. And it showed me who I was and my shortcomings and the positive things. And I really, it took me a long time to gear into all of that, because most of the numerology I picked up by reading many books and just putting things together. And that seemed to work well for me. And and we got a special guy here, Grandpa Brian. He's a 33. That's a master healer. A master healer. Yeah.
And he
Team
sure
11.
Yep. Yep. Sophia's 11. Teresa's 11. Yep. Yeah. Amazing.
Brian's a 33.
Yes.
That's yeah.
So tell us more about the 33. What does that set him for? I know he's a master healer, Reiki master. He does a lot of energetic healing. That's pretty incredible. So that's an evolved soul right there.
Yeah. And many great people that's had that 33 in their life has did some fantastic things. We had 33s when we had World War II that was our leaders, some of the 5-star generals, and but they're just masters. They're so sharp, and their hands, 6s and 33s, has that healing energy in their hands, and so that's. I remember you saying that, and I thought, whoa, put my ears picked up. And so, that master numbers are are very unique, and they're not always easy to live with. But you take like the 11 here, Teresa. She she uh, she knows sometimes she's behind the scene making everything work, and then all of a sudden she jumps up front and runs the show. And people around her saying, "Wait, what is that?" No, you're doing fine. They just didn't understand. But see, once again, if they knew that about you, that would just go off so smooth that
Yeah.
nobody. Yeah.
You said the
But
teacher's teacher at
What?
one time.
Yeah.
You said the 11 was the teacher's teacher.
Teachers.
That's
teachers,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We,
Go ahead.
those patterns, Paul, when I started out, not at the detailed level, but just I was looking at the earth signs. And two of the people that I have the most difficulty with in my own family, it's because we're so much freaking alike. I didn't realize it until I figured it out. And I haven't gone to the level that I need with you, but I did a cursory level, and I looked at the Aquarius was my dad, right? And he gave birth to 3 water signs. Okay, and out of those 3 water signs, Scorpio, Cancer, and Pisces, 2 of us are 11 over 2s, and so is my dad. So my dad's 11 over 2. My sister was 11 over 2. I'm 11 over 2. And then 3 of us are water signs. So he gave birth to 3 water signs. And it's just interesting when you start looking at the patterns in a family and you look at our personality traits. So I said, okay, what are the synchronicities? So I started looking and writing down everything that I did, that my father also did, and that my brother also does. And when I look at it, I'm like, oh my God, we're cut from the same cloth, all 3 of us. So we're in competition.
Yeah. And you came in from that energy too. You brought it right back in with you, and it can do great things with it. You know, somewhere in the biblical Bible, it talks about many are. I think it says many are us, and many are called, and few are chosen. There's a lot of 11s that will never reach your level. A lot of 33s will never reach your level. And and one of the reasons, they haven't had a roadmap to life. And that is what astrology, numerology, and all the schools of higher learning, I think, can bring about. And we just need to honor that. And you know, if you've got a good numerology chart done, you can learn to drive around the potholes of life.
That's right.
Yeah.
Love it.
Well, this is me with my foot in my mouth now, because years ago I was like, not now. Now I feel like, oh God, me stupid. But no, I'm not stupid.
No.
It's just that I wasn't ready. That's ready.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
It's that roadmap. It just gives you all the information. If you knew your life path when you come in here, and the numerology gives you that benefit, then you're understanding all the challenges, things you want to work on, and how you want to make the adjustments. But not only for yourself, once you learn about, someone else's, like I'd mentioned this before, Linda Goodman's sun signs. I don't know if you ever read that book, but she broke it down like incredibly. The husband, wife, the relationship between them, your child, your relationship with your children, how they play a part. But if you take on the responsibility of learning about yourself first, having some confidence, boost your confidence in knowing who you are, and having an idea of what your challenges are going to be, and then start meeting them head on and focusing on that, you're just kind of cutting out the crap in life to a degree. And, it's like I always like to say, your emotions are none of my business, and mine are none of yours. So it really is an individual process. Sometimes people project those, and like you said, in relationships where people change in the relationship, and then suddenly you feel like you're with a completely different person. But it seems to me that you're discovering who they really are. And not only that, but you're discovering who you truly are as well. And once you have that emotional acceptance of who you are, then you can begin that work. And also, igniting that desire for inner change. That's a biggie. Having that desire to, um, think about the thoughts you're having, how you express yourself, how you speak to people, and taking a moment to, think about what you're going to say. All that stuff comes into play. And I think if people just knew, even if they took a piece of that and started to explore it within themselves, they would really learn more about who they are and what the
Well
challenge
said.
and meet that challenge head on, and not be in fear. We've been doing this show since 2020, October 19th of 2020, and we have grown leaps and bounds.
Yes.
And it was all I could do to get on screen and not pick myself apart and be like, and judge myself. But it was great because it allowed me to see myself the way other people see me. So I started to learn more about myself. And that was really exciting. And then having the confidence to continue and to keep growing and expanding, that was really the trick. So I think if you could just boost your confidence a little bit by understanding all of that, it's going to make a world of difference. Yeah, world of difference. What say you? Go ahead, Delabor. You've got a comment, and then I'd like to get to our panel. Mm-hmm.
Well, I would. What I have to say about emotions is this: emotions are scales of frequency on the electromagnetic spectrum, and like I mentioned in the last show, if we were to plot out all the frequencies of visible light that we can sense with our bodies and put them on a tape that would extend from New York to Chicago, we'd only be able to see about 12 inches of it. Okay. The same thing, I believe, applies to the emotional spectrum. In other words, we humans can only experience a very narrow band of emotions. But also, just as with like colors, some people can see certain colors and other people can't see certain colors. Some people can hear deeper sounds or higher pitched sounds than others. So too are certain humans able to sense and or experience certain emotions and not others. So I think there's a big correlation between the etheric or the mystical world of the emotions versus the logical world of measurable things like frequencies and spectrums. That's what I wanted to say about it.
Yeah.
As above, so below.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
Sophia, how do you ignite your desire for change? I know you've been going through a lot of changes lately, and you can attest to this. What's your feeling about that?
Well, I like what we said earlier. Seek to understand, then you may be understood. And I also love, like we spoke earlier, numerology, astrology, and the other arts, because know thyself. Because until you know what you are, then it's kind of easier to figure out why you're down here, how to step in your power, fulfill your soul contract, be a blessing to others around you, and learning that you can experience an emotion but not be encompassed within it. You can feel something, but you don't have to let it run the show. There was a couple other things I jotted down here. Let's see. Mindfulness, awareness, honesty with self and others. And then
That's a big one. That's a very
yeah,
big one.
it's like, in my opinion, it's like any other self-care habit. It doesn't have priority in my life. Where can I apply it? After struggling and being drugged through over half of my life, I finally got to a point between the encouragement of my guides and my ancestors, because I was born psychic. I've talked to more dead people than alive people. Okay.
Me too.
Yeah.
But what when you balance the mind, you balance the emotions, and you find out for me, my astrology chart and my numerology is basically, okay, what's my make? What's my model? Where's my NOS button? What things need to be maintained? Where are my challenges? Because I don't like weakness. Where are my strengths? Where are my challenges? And we're down here to learn. So, and that's why I love this group, because we can have challenges and we can band together and not have to walk alone. Because that being alone, there's a lot of sacred text, but being alone when you're evolving and changing in an emotional and mental fashion, it's healthier to do it with people that truly care about you.
Absolutely, because there's that trust.
Mhm.
Elderberry's asking, what is the part of the body center that we feel when emotional? Honestly, I feel it in my heart and my solar plexus. So the gut and the
Yeah.
heart.
Solar
I would say
plexus.
those are
Yeah.
those are the two.
Yeah.
And then
Definitely.
the mind has control over it. So it would be more of an observer of that emotion instead of reacting by it. So if somebody says something you don't like, you go, they just said something I don't care for. But that's okay. That's their opinion and that's where they're coming from. But that doesn't really like affect me. I don't let it affect me like I would have in the past. Like that would have wounded me or hurt me, or I would
Yeah.
have been sensitive
Mm-hmm.
about it. But
Mm-hmm.
now I see it from the observer's view of, yeah, that's not mine. That's yours.
Very
Mm-hmm.
good.
And
That's
that's
right.
okay. Yeah, and that's okay. Go ahead, Teresa.
I'm going to add on to this because
Mm.
Lori's spot on, in my opinion. I agree 100%. And it's the soul level view. The observer is the soul,
Mm-hmm.
not our mental mind, not our spirit mind or our ego mind. The soul that
The
has no
barking dog,
emotions,
ego, the
the part
barking
that
dog.
has,
Yip, yip,
yeah,
yip.
yeah. But it's the soul that's able to stay above it because
Mm-hmm.
the soul is protected. The soul doesn't experience emotion.
Yeah.
Spirit does. Our spirits
Mm-hmm.
do because that's what we're here to learn. But the soul is the record keeper, the scribe, the
Mm-hmm.
one that records
Yes.
all
Keeping
emotions, the
track of
one that
everything.
views
Yeah.
everything.
For
And so,
playback later.
yeah. And to the extent that
Dictaphone.
we're in connection with our own soul
Mm-hmm.
mindedness, our soul
Mm-hmm.
mindedness, which is not affected by emotions, then we can be that observer that Lori's talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know about the rest of you, but I was hoping Hope would speak up eventually too. Is being a
I'm going
channeler,
to her next. Mm-hmm.
it just opens you up so much more. I've been receiving so much more
Mm-hmm.
by being able to step back and take the emotions out of it. And the other thing I wanted to say real quick is that I think, I think now I'm coming to the understanding that emotions and feelings are almost two separate things. How we really feel at a soul level, because soul doesn't feel, but spirit does, but how we really feel as our part of our who we are
The body
and our
feels.
purpose.
The body
Yeah,
feels.
the
The
body feels.
soul is the
Yeah.
observer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're not really ever truly, just momentarily, if you think of each emotion as an energy, like Dalibor was saying, it's motion. Energy is motion, emotion in motion. It's
Mm-hmm.
ever changing.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm
Yeah.
happy 1 minute, I might not be happy 10 minutes from now.
Mm-hmm.
You don't maintain or sustain or hold on to any one emotion for a very long period of
That's a
time. They're
good point.
constantly changing.
Mm-hmm.
They're
Very good
constantly
point.
changing.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway,
You're
I'm just okay. Go
It's
ahead,
okay.
Hope.
You're adjusting to that. Yeah, you're totally
Yeah,
adjusting your
thank you,
mindset
Lori.
to that.
Yeah,
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. Hope, I was
yeah.
going to ask you, how did you ignite your desire for that inner change? I mean, what was it for you that just really ignited your passion to connect and to,
To
you know,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
You mean to connect with spirit and to
Well, to connect with yourself first and foremost, but then
yes,
once you connected to yourself, just like Ellen does, she opens up psychically to the rest of
right.
the universe, right? How did you ignite that
Yes.
desire? How
And
did that come about?
Well, I think a lot of it was ignited in some of the classes that I was taking and how I practiced certain things and how I opened up to certain things. But when you were talking about, I think one of the most important things that happened for me is when I started letting go of the connection with the emotions, like the buttons that people were pushing
Ooh, those
in my
triggers.
emotions, and I became
Yes.
the observer, the triggers.
Mhm.
I think the most important thing that happened for me was realizing that I don't have to have those triggers and I can be an observer. And when you're observing the situation, whether it's a past life situation, whether it's what's going on right now, you tend to detach and you can see and accept the person that you're having the conflict with, and you can accept yourself. And the problems seem to resolve easier because you're on the outside watching and you're not attached to it. And that's what happens
That's
when I
good.
channel a lot. When I channel a lot too, my emotions are disconnected and I'm just getting the
Ooh, that's
facts or I'm getting the solution to the problem. So that's helped a lot too for me.
I love that, Hope. Yeah,
Very good.
because spirit's not an emotional being. They're just not. But the
Right.
human is, and they're the ones that are feeling it. Grandpa Brian, how did that ignite you? I mean, how did your desire to heal? I know it's part of your life path, but how did you discover that? How did you come and to embrace it, so to speak?
Well, it all started for me when I was about 24. I suffered from bad depression from the age of 14 to 24.
Mm-hmm.
And without medication, I overcome that depression. I learned, and ever since then, I learned how to control my emotions. When stuff happens to me, whether it's bad or good,
Mm-hmm.
I take it in and release it, especially the bad stuff. I learned how to, all right, this is what happened to me. All right, you got to deal with it for a day or two, but hey, after that, just let it go. It no
Mm-hmm.
longer serves you. And that's one thing I learned. I started getting into numerology about 4 years ago because of our little buddy Alex.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned my spiritual awakening happened 5 years ago. And that's like numerology. That would be, I was in the 5th year, which fives are about changes.
Right.
I
Yeah.
also
Yeah.
learned before that, 4
Change,
years before
conflict.
that,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I had a friendship that ended after 32 years
Yeah.
over a $1
That's
poker game. And
What?
I
wow.
learned,
Wow.
yeah,
Wow.
and one thing I learned, that ending had to happen at that 9 time, because once I got away from that, I realized how negative this person was. Not only him, but his whole family. It was just all
You
these
saw the
years,
truth.
right, of them draining my energy. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Brian,
but
let me ask
I
you this.
really,
Let me ask you. When you're talking to someone and they say to you, "Well, you make me feel like this," what is your response to them?
well, if I make you feel like that, you shouldn't be around me. You know, go on your own merry way. I'm going to be the person that I am. And if you don't like it, then you can go to the other
Hmm.
side of the room. It doesn't matter to
Right.
me what you feel about me. It's what I feel about myself.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, but how do you feel? How do you feel when it's something positive? When they say, "You make me feel like a natural woman."
You make me feel brand
So,
new.
what kind of emotion does that bring up? You see, how do you see?
Happy.
It's not just the
Yeah.
negatives. It's not just
Right.
right. So you have a
Yes.
different response. It's not leave the room. It's okay, right?
Come here,
So,
mama.
so we have the positive and we have the negative. Yeah. We have the positive and the not so positive reactions to our emotions. Are they feelings?
Right.
Are they feelings, Paul?
Yes.
I want to ask
And
Paul that. What do you think, Paul? What do you tell someone when they say, well, you make me feel like this?
haven't had it happen for a long, long time. But anyway, I
Bully for you.
with my mindset today,
Hmm.
I would try to understand that person, and I would probably say, I'm sorry if I offended you, but what is this about? Can we talk about it? And try to get the person to talk about it, because what I may have said triggered something in that person that is already wounded.
Hmm.
And so if we can find our wound, and sometimes you can't,
Hmm.
it's like Brian says, sometimes you just got to go on. But I would try to seek to understand what I said and how it affected him or her, because I would want to know that if I could help the person or not.
Hmm.
But that's something that I've evolved to, rather than take it so personally.
Right.
And I think one thing that if we'd learn too is the difference of love and like really has been a great thing for me. And because I love everybody, and that's the truth. What that means is I want the best for them, no matter whether they're close to me or not. I want, because the better they are, the better my world is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. But it doesn't mean that I like their behavior or their way they lived their life. But I can separate myself from that. But I don't, I really was, when I found out that such a difference between love and light, and this is something that happens within relationships, marriages and things. We're at such a point in our country of marriage is just, I don't know what the percentage is now, but of divorce. And a lot of times it's just, if they knew that difference between love and light, they could work through some things. But then the emotion gets involved.
Yeah.
Lori,
Yeah.
like you said, it hits you in that. I think when that hits you in the gut feeling or the solar plex, I think that is our soul saying, boy, you don't need to deal with this. And
Right. Or
yeah.
like for me, I would say in my mind, I'm thinking to myself, when someone says that to me, I go, wait a minute, how am I responsible for what you think?
That's
Yeah.
right.
Are you not taking responsibility for what you think?
Mm-hmm.
That's
And then
good.
you realize that you're on different paths. You're on you're on the same path. You're just at a different point in that path.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's
I tell you,
That's one I run into a lot, and I thought that would be a really good question, because I'm sure
Go
people
ahead,
in
Hope.
chat deal with that as well.
Well, what I wanted to say on that point is when somebody says, you made me do this or you made me feel this way, no one makes anyone do anything. No one makes anyone feel that way. You choose how you're going to react to that. You choose what feelings you want to bring up, as opposed to, what they said. Nobody makes you feel that way. You choose how you want to react to the situation. But also sometimes in when you're having a conflict, and we brought up the mirror thing, that sometimes when somebody says, you made me feel so angry, then I look and say, well, what am I doing within myself that I might be feeling anger that they're feeling it?
Exactly.
So I'm mirroring something back to them that I need to change, or vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
Very
Mm-hmm.
good,
Mhm.
Hope. That's
Yep.
great. And
So those projected emotions are just not yours, but you're understanding them on a level of, how am I mirroring that back to that person?
Right.
Maybe and finding a way to make the adjustment, but also knowing that they are responsible
Well,
for what they
it's
Right.
think.
it's also necessary to take those emotions into consideration always, because that's your emotional body reacting. That's
Mm-hmm.
your subconscious basically
Mm-hmm.
making itself conscious to your conscious mind.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
And
why you
that's where
can't
the
ignore it.
mind stuff, you override that. That's where the mind comes
Mhm.
in and
That's
you
Yeah,
override those emotions because you
exactly.
understand the emotion.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
And I've
Mhm.
noticed in my own life that I've always made the worst possible decisions when I didn't include the most important thing, and that's ethics and morals. What is the moral dimension
That
of
could be problematic, yes.
exactly? That's always the most important issue.
Mhm.
I think that's called proper thinking. In other
Yes.
words, we often react to something or have an emotional response to something, whether it's reactive or overactive, because we haven't taken the time to do the processing.
Mhm.
So, like
Hmm.
Paul saying, think before you speak, what he's really saying is do that right thinking
Well, what
Mhm.
I'm saying is
and use
think,
the
Mm-hmm.
think,
language
think
to
before you.
express it.
What I'm saying
Yeah.
is think before you think.
Yeah.
Think before.
Yeah.
I like that.
Or
Think
wait a
before
minute.
you think.
Use
Hmm.
the higher mind thinking. Use the soul level thinking
Yeah.
before your mind process starts tearing away with your thoughts. There are two levels of thinking. There's the spirit mind or soul mind way of thinking, and then there's the human mind thinking. And so one has guidance over the other. So your spirit and soul level thinking has actually responsibility for guiding the ego mind.
There
Mhm.
was even a Nobel Prize winning book written about this by Kahneman and Tversky,
Yeah,
Thinking Fast and Slow.
yes.
Hmm.
Oh, interesting.
Uh-huh.
Hmm.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Paul, I wanted to ask Ellen a question, if I may.
You
And
sure can.
excellent. Hi, Ellen. I know that's a bit of a challenge there because you just have the one mic, and
I
I
know.
wanted to, I wanted to ask you, how do we organize our thoughts into healthy patterns?
I think by seeking and also by always being aware of what's going on with us. When something happens, you feel it instantly. And to be aware of that, it's a practice. It's something that you get used to. Used to, I would go
Bingo.
off on a tangent, and then
Mm-hmm.
5 days later, I'm like, wait a minute, what happened? Where now, usually within a few moments, I'm like, oh, this was me. This is something I did, and hold
Mm-hmm.
myself accountable. And if somebody else did it and it hurts me, it's still me because it's my soul telling me to pay attention to it. So if I tripped over Paul and his foot was in the way and I hurt me,
Mm-hmm.
it's about me, not him,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm the one that felt it. So
Right.
taking responsibility that way and realizing this isn't something bad. This is something teaching me, pay attention because we're never going to have growth. If you look at a snake and it's shedding its skin because it's getting bigger and changing, it is not comfortable for that moment. And it's also vulnerable for that moment.
Mm-hmm.
But after a while, once it sheds it, you may even see some blood, but it's growth.
Mm-hmm. And you're
If,
taking
Good point.
responsibility for that. That's
yeah.
the thing. How am I responsible? How did I create the situation? How did I help create this? And what's my part in it? What do I play? What's the part I play?
Mm-hmm.
And then
Mm-hmm.
acknowledging it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. And what do you say to people that as we were talking about that projected emotions, you make me feel a certain way. What do you say to those people when they say, "Well, you made me feel that way," or "You did something that makes me feel bad or angry," or "Why did you do that?" Like you have
Well,
all the control.
yeah, I would point it out to them. Say, do you really want me controlling you? I mean,
Mhm.
you're reacting to what I'm saying, and you're not reacting the way you want to. You're reacting the way you think that I should be doing. But no, people need to realize and just point it out to them. And you don't want to get involved in their emotion. Sometimes you get that snowball thing going back and forth, and it gets bigger and bigger. But if you can, again, just calm yourself, take some time between stimulants and response and decide how you want to answer this.
Mhm.
Engage your brain, because usually if we're emotional, the brain's gone. We're not
Yeah.
thinking anymore. We're reacting. So
Mhm.
if you want to be able to help someone, you have to look at it. Well, you don't have to, but I choose to look at it in a different way to see what I can help them with, because it can be a learning experience for both of us.
Mhm.
Like,
I
if
like
I'm
that pausing, that just taking that moment to pause and
Mm-hmm.
collect
Mm-hmm.
yourself before you say anything.
yeah, because we can always
Hang
decide.
on just a second. I just let me process for just a moment, and I'm going to get
Isn't
back to
it?
you. I'm going to get right back to you.
I love
Yeah.
it when she does that because I know something good's coming.
That's funny. And you can look at
It's
things
true.
different too. Like if somebody cuts me off and I'm driving my car, I
Perfect
don't see
example.
I don't see them as maybe being a bad person.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Even I've even got to the point that in my soul I'm thinking they are wanting a blessing from me. Not
Mhm.
not 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 body to to soul, or
Oh,
spirit
I
to
love
spirit.
that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
You know,
they're getting my attention.
exactly. How
Uh-huh.
many times has somebody cut you off? But how many times have you cut someone off? Maybe accidentally, you didn't mean to do it. There's so many different circumstances. You don't know where their head's at or what's going on. So the best way to deal with it is to just bless them and say, lots of love, sending love your way and lots of good luck. Who knows why you did what you did? Maybe you didn't see someone, you just see it from a different level. And if you can do that with other people when you're dealing with them, I think it really does put the power in your own self and control over,
Uh-huh.
accepting responsibility for your thoughts and words and your actions, and you
Well,
gained acceptance of it.
you can also oponopono them.
Yeah.
Um, Yeah, if they are, you can tell that they're in a rage, and it's like,
Mhm.
my goodness, if they keep going like that, they may have an accident. You can
Yeah.
oponopono them, and
Mhm.
if you're feeling the emotion too, you also oponopono yourself,
Right.
because then you're on the train too. You jump the
Yeah.
track and you're going down the train with them. And when
Right.
somebody controls you, that's exactly what happens. You're
Mhm.
not where you want to be. You're following them
Right.
along,
Right.
and who knows where they're going to take you.
Yeah, Sophia, no doubt.
Yeah,
Sophia, you
Sophia.
had something. Go ahead, and then we'll go to Teresa. Go ahead. You had a
Um,
comment about that.
well, I was agreeing with it first
Uh
and
huh.
foremost, and
Uh
I'm
huh.
kind of caught up in chat because I've missed my people. But let's see, I got a
Social
couple.
butterfly, you.
Um, who would have thought? Talk about a total weekend. But the one thing that came to mind during the course of the conversation that I jotted down was I watched something from Thich Nhat Hanh. He has a lot of good material out there,
Mm-hmm.
and basically to observe the emotions. It to have the emotion, it's gonna happen. We're emotional creatures.
Mm-hmm.
That's part of our core makeup. But recognizing that we're feeling something and not diving down into an unhealthy rabbit hole.
Mhm.
Giving ourselves just enough time to push in the clutch and to check out the energetic traffic before we make our move. That
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of where I'm at. But
Mm-hmm.
other
This
than
is
that,
this is exactly why we're here, Falling Starlight 7. But I don't really understand emotion at all that well. I've been taught to keep a tight lid on it, and my Virgo keeps them in boxes.
I love you, girl.
Yeah,
That
well,
That
I'm
this
a
is
Virgo too.
mm-hmm.
that's
Yep.
part of
Virgo
Gen X,
keeps them in
though.
boxes.
Mm.
That
Is
they
that?
Well, for me, it is because we were
Mhm.
like, "Hey, you don't know how to swim," and then they throw you in the pool.
Yeah.
It's like, "Oh,
Yeah, that's a good
you're
point.
hurt. Oh, you're a tattletale. We don't want to hear you.
Yeah.
Dry it up."
Uh,
But as
Mhm.
well-meaning
Mhm.
as they were, because my
mhm.
parents were baby boomers,
Mhm.
they were in the silent generation, seen not heard. So
Mhm.
we were told, oh, you're feeling that? Well, feel it by yourself.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's just a recipe for poor programming. And
Mhm.
that's kind of like what Jasmine was saying, understanding ourselves, what we're feeling, and why. Write it
Yeah.
down and get to the bottom of it. Because if it's taking up space and not paying rent, I don't allow squatters. And my
Mhm.
emotions are no exception.
Yeah.
My
Yeah.
thoughts. So
Absolutely.
that's where I'm at.
Mhm.
Yeah, because we have to be careful with emotions too, because sometimes we get that record going around and around and clicking. It's like tick, tick, tick.
Mm.
And then, our mind is supposed to be there to help us solve problems, not to control us.
Right.
We're
Yes.
supposed, we're supposed to have control over it and to be able to
That's
stop
right.
our thinkings and go to something else. And if
Mhm.
we're not so caught up with somebody else, you can still be with somebody and still not get caught up in their emotions. You can watch what's going on and observe,
Mhm.
but as soon
Mhm.
as you feel it, you're there.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So if
Yeah.
you're trying to help your child or something and understand, as soon as you're getting angry or you feel something,
Mhm.
it's gone. You need
Yeah.
to step back and just watch, because even with our children, when they do something over and over again, that's a learning experience. If we keep stopping them and saying, no, you shouldn't do that, or that's going to hurt you, they're
Mhm.
never going to learn. And
Mhm.
we're actually taking their blessing away from them, because when they get to that point where they do stub their toe or they do something that causes a lot of pain, that could be one of their greatest moments.
Very
Yes.
true. Now, listen, I've
And
got an
that's
interesting question. Seriously, want to get to this question. And Ellen, you are the
okay.
perfect person to help answer this. And this is from Milky Way Soul Tribe. Everybody knows Robert B over there at Milky Way Soul Tribe. Go check
So,
his
buddy.
channel out. Yep.
Robert.
Question: if we redirect all these things and learn to understand that the decisions that we make are the ones we are responsible for, why do we start from scratch in our next life or do over?
Well,
So why do we
we
come back time and time again and redo this thing with a clean slate, I think is what he's saying or asking.
I think anytime that we are involved, or it could even be a child, because we have a lot of karma with our loved ones.
Mhm.
That's the ones that, we come back to. Those are the main ones that we do want to try to work through the karma, because that's the biggies.
Mhm.
We come together for a reason. And
Mhm.
those are the biggest ones. But why do we keep coming back? Who knows? When we do get it's slate, you know, all the
See,
emotions done, if we quit having emotions or trying to do for other people and telling them what to do and just be on our own, who
Mhm.
knows? Maybe we don't have to come back anymore. You
Mhm.
know,
Mhm.
see
and,
my,
go ahead.
my
Go
take
ahead,
on it
Delbert.
is okay, even if let's say you're playing chess with somebody, if you play another chess game with that same person, you still got to start out the next game from the same basic position. You got to put the pieces all back.
That is so bright. Yeah.
And
So
again, if you
yeah.
if you're coming back, let's just say you come back into life and you know everything about your past. Um doesn't isn't that like knowing the answers to the test? I mean, is it really a true test of being here and experiencing being human? Or
I
is it
think that
just
it's
go ahead.
I think that it's just not moving you forward if you were to do that. In other words, what I am today would be what I would be tomorrow if I came back in knowing what I was already at. So
Mhm.
And
I didn't make the progress before I passed in that lifetime.
Mhm.
So if I came into it knowing it already up front, what's to say it's going to get any better? But if I start with a clean slate,
You might have a different
and
outcome. Is that what you're saying?
I might have a different yes.
Mhm.
So I have
Mhm.
an opportunity to clear up And I just saw this recently in my own situation. So
Mm-hmm.
I saw some things in some other people. I came to a realization about some things in other people. And I realized, oh my God, that's why we're all back here right now.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're working on. We're changing. We're trying to break the cycle this time around. So I
Well,
can now step back and be more compassionate about what they're going through, and not be as critical or judgmental, and not get all heavily or overreactive in my own emotions, because I'm here to work on that too.
So
Yeah,
you
well,
clean
become,
slate's another chance.
to use the chess
Yes,
analogy
yes,
again, that would be the same thing as playing
right,
another game of chess and
Mm-hmm.
playing
yes,
the exact same moves you played in the first game, without
Mm-hmm.
regard to what your opponent's moves
And
are.
maybe you wouldn't have done it
right.
that way. Yeah, had you known.
Yeah.
yeah, because
You
you
And
have an
as you
opportunity to
evolve,
make a different choice.
yes, and
Mhm.
as your consciousness evolves this time around, I'm much more open than I was the last couple of times.
yeah,
So
you
even though I had some spiritual experiences, I remember having those experiences, but this time around, I'm much more open and receptive and accepting. And here I
Mm-hmm.
am 60 years later, after I was, here I am now in my 60s and going, ooh, I get this now. So I'm at a higher way of thinking about it, higher, for lack of a better term. I'm thinking of things through a much clearer lens and a much
Mm-hmm.
more spiritually tapped in lens.
Mm-hmm.
And now I have access to help that I never realized, perhaps in that particular lifetime that I was going through these things. I didn't have that connection with spirit to be able to pull the car over on the side of the road and go, why am I feeling like this? Okay, guides, come in. Why am I doing this? What do I need to know right now? What do I need to know right now? I was at the store the other day. I wanted to punch somebody because it's the same person that's been
Ah,
irritating the crap out of me for the past 2 years.
I
And I
know.
have
Yeah.
finally had enough of this person, okay?
Yeah.
Finally had enough. And I'm ready to come out with my lion now and go, rawr, okay? So I just had to stand on the side of the aisle, breathe in, breathe out 2 or 3 times, and just open myself up to spirit and say, show me what I'm not seeing right now, because I
Mm-hmm.
want to punch.
Yeah.
So that helped me get, what do I need to know to take
Mm-hmm.
control of this emotion right now? And
Mm-hmm.
spirit comes in now.
Yeah.
As I have that level of help now, whereas in a previous life, I didn't have that.
I
yes,
like what Mary Mansfield just said. Just
Okay.
because you're not consciously aware of lessons learned in past lives doesn't mean that knowledge isn't there and available to you
Mhm.
from your higher self. New situation, same old soul. Boom.
That's what I'm
And
Yeah.
saying.
that
Then
explains
your guides come in.
all those
Mm-hmm.
Right.
irrational emotional responses that you wouldn't even
Yeah.
expect of yourself to have,
Yeah.
Hmm.
because
And
Correct.
those
that's
Yep.
what
stem
I'm
from past
saying. When you're
lives.
when you're communicating with your guides, they know they are aspects of yourself that have been through these cycles. They've gained the knowledge and the wisdom. So
Mm-hmm.
why not tap into them? Because they're going to remind you, well, you remember when you did this back then? Oh, yeah. That didn't work
That
so well,
didn't
did it?
work. Mm-hmm.
No. Then
Mm-hmm.
don't do it again this time.
Right. Right.
Do it better. Do it
Mm-hmm.
differently. Do it so that it serves
differently.
both you and the other person.
Yeah.
Progress.
Yeah,
Yep.
differently.
Progress.
Yeah, and instead of being a
Oh,
problem,
Yeah.
we can all strive to be the catalyst of change,
There you
and for
go.
for something
Yep.
to happen, and that
Yep.
happens through awareness. And like
Right.
Dilbert was talking, playing the chess over and over again. After a while, I would probably find a partner that, if I'm still always losing, I'd find somebody that couldn't play as good, or I would finally, you know,
Mhm.
if I was always winning, I would find somebody to play
That's
with that's a
taking
little
control of
smarter.
the situation. I like
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
because
Very
mhm.
good.
yeah,
Yeah.
because
Mhm.
just like being in school, once
Mm-hmm.
we get
Yeah.
that once we learn what we need to learn in 6th grade, we would be
Mm-hmm.
bored with it. We want to move on up
Yeah.
to the 7th grade
Exactly.
and on,
Yep.
because that's the reason for all these stair steps. I think it's the same thing with our spirit. If we learn it and then we're able to apply it, and again, be the catalyst for change, I think that's one of the things that helps us move on in our spirit, our soul, and also to help other people that we are around. And, like you say,
Right.
don't be part of the problem, be part of the solution.
Yes,
Mhm.
ma'am.
Yes.
Yeah, and
Good
don't
point.
don't let your mastery get in the way of
Mm-hmm.
your experience of the situation, and
Hmm.
don't let mastery lead to something like arrogance. Because In 2019, I even made the statement, this life thing is just way too easy. And then 2020 came along and COVID hit, and all of a sudden it wasn't. All of
It
a sudden
wasn't.
it wasn't. And that was pride on my part. That was pure pride and arrogance.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah,
Should
we
have
have to
felt
be
that.
careful with that. Yeah,
Yeah.
So
I do agree. Go
Falling
ahead.
Starlight 7 says, I'd like to know, what does everyone do to stay emotionally regaled?
What's regaled mean?
And then I feel like it's a fine balance between acknowledging emotions and to wallow in them or to be consumed by them.
I think regaled is balanced.
Mm-hmm.
Aware and balanced, or in this
Well,
context.
Meditation. That's what I do to stay balanced. Meditate.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause
Yeah, and that's not really thinking about anything, and that's very difficult for people to not do. To not
what
sit there for 10, 15, 20
Regaled.
minutes.
Emotionally
drum,
regaled.
walk, dance,
Walk,
garden,
dance.
Mhm.
Yeah.
draw. I don't care what it is. You don't have to do this. That's not. If that was the only meditation out there, I would be in so much trouble. Give me
Yeah,
a drum.
Yeah,
Like,
regaled is
Let's go.
entertain or amused with
Like
talk.
Timothy Leary would say, change your set and setting.
There you go.
And you could do that mentally. You could do that
Mhm.
online.
Change the
literally.
dial. Yeah,
Yeah.
Exactly.
change the
dial.
tune.
But
Yeah.
you
Change
know,
the frequency.
Sophie, if you're someplace where you can't get up and dance, and like we're driving, we can follow our breath.
This is
Breath.
true. Breath
Yeah.
work
Yeah.
is very
Yeah,
important.
we don't have to do it. You can follow your breath and just get in touch with your heart and the heartbeat, because that's always available. But I do agree with you about dancing and moving, and because the mind follows the body.
It
When we
does.
move the body and uplift it, the emotions in the mind will follow that. We think it's the
That's right.
opposite, but it isn't.
Yeah, just try smiling and watch how things change and shift for you. Just a
Yeah.
smile on your face.
Well, like
Well,
when the child starts crying, they used to say,
Mhm.
get a stiff upper lip, because when you got your chin up, it's so much harder to cry.
Yeah. And yeah, Robert V., you're right. Meditation is hard to find time for in this day and age, but it's something you have to make time for and place some
Yeah.
importance on it. Even if you start with
Sing.
5 minutes, 10 minutes,
3 minutes.
15
Fine.
minutes.
Hum.
Yep.
Mhm.
Humming.
Something.
Humming's a good way
Humming.
to do it as well. Sitting in the
Mhm.
sun, closing your eyes and just being in the sun, listening
Listening to
to
music.
yeah,
What makes you
exactly.
smile?
Exactly. Yep.
I
Yeah.
think the opening video went into some of the emotional toolkit tools that we could use to mindfulness activities, and we've talked about a lot of it on previous shows.
Yeah.
Getting into your grounding with nature, being out working in your garden, farming, your artwork. A lot of your art expression is a way of focusing. I do puzzles when I don't have anything else to do.
Right.
So mindfulness activities,
Mindful activities. Yeah.
Mhm.
On to
service
the
to others.
next.
If you're
Yeah.
focusing on, spend a few days, a couple hours, a couple days a week. I used to go to the food kitchen and help out. They've closed it, but
Oh, yeah.
I'm waiting for them to reopen a senior center here in town so I can help out. But you can take your time and focus it in certain ways that you're getting more balance of all kinds of things. The same thing with if you're attached to one person and you're attached at the hip. It helps to not be attached to that person sometimes, to go do your own thing, and have
Absolutely.
balance in your relationships
Yep.
with people.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to
Absolutely.
smother another person. Let them grow and be their individual
Mm-hmm.
and have their likes and stuff. And you want to share things with them from time to time. That's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
But it's important for you to have your individuality in all of this.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think what happens with our emotions is those that we see that are so highly emotional and charged, sometimes it's about an external circumstance or something that's going on in society that's driving them to that craziness. Or sometimes it's almost always about finances or relationships. Would you all agree with
It
me?
is a lack of
That's where-
control.
Oh, yeah.
It is a lack
Mhm.
of
Yep.
control. Hope,
So
you were
having
gonna,
your own, go ahead. Sorry.
yeah, I'm sorry. Hope, you were going to make a point, and I didn't want you to lose that.
Yeah. The one
Sorry,
thing
Lisa.
that came up for me when you are either worrying, having an anxiety attack, being angry, or you can't control that monkey mind, the one thing that came up for me, and Spirit brought it to me and I taught it to other people, is to Om. And it goes connection with the humming and the vibration and all of that. But when you Om, if you've never Om'd in your life before and you try it for 3 to 6 seconds, there is nothing in that mind. Nothing. It's just vibration, it's love, it's God, it's higher self. So if you can learn to Om or hum for a few seconds, and then pretty soon, like my Ohms can go a minute or more. They just keep going and going. But that was what Spirit brought up for me to give other people, because when you're Ohming, you're not thinking about anything. You're not mad anymore. You're not anxious. There's nothing. It's it's nothing, but it's everything.
Right.
Yeah.
I like to listen to the Gregorian chants. Those that really get you going. Those, especially in a
I do too. They're nice.
acoustic.
Can I answer Robert for just a second?
Sure,
Can
go
I
ahead.
talk to
Yep,
Robert
yep.
D?
Yes, please.
Because I think
go ahead. We'll have final thoughts after this.
Okay. So Robert, Hope and Sophia, Lori, Ellen, all of us here, basically. You know how your fellow employees will go outside and take a smoke break for 5 minutes? Sometimes it's okay for you to take a break too. So even if you're at work, you can take a 3 to 5 minute break, even if you're not smoking, and go off into an area of the building where you have some peace and quiet, and just empty your thoughts. Don't think about what's on the job. Don't think that you should be in your office responding to somebody right now. You're on a break. Allow yourself, write yourself, as Lori, I love it when Lori says this, write yourself a permission slip.
A permission slip.
Take a break. To take a break.
It's okay.
And this goes for everyone. It's okay. Pull the car over to a scenic location. Take a 5 or 10 minute break. You know, if you're out shopping and you just want to take a breather. So I don't think of it as meditation. I think of take a breather to be with yourself, to love yourself. So don't think of it as meditation, because meditation takes on many forms. And it doesn't have to be about going into a deep, deep meditation. It's taking a break with you, with yourself, and then just relaxing and breathing and just listen to the sounds, listen to nature. But don't think about any one thing in particular unless you have a specific thought that you're struggling with or wanting to do, a decision that you need to make, and just put it out there. What do I need to know? What do I need to know? And the answers will come to you. That's meditating. Vacuuming is meditating. If you're feeding the horses or you're out in the garden and you're digging dirt, you're meditating. If you're allowing yourself to be with self and spend that time with self and not think about anything else, you could do it for 3 minutes. Okay.
Yeah, I have a little bit to add to that. You know, when you are thinking and you're caught up in something, you cannot get the message because your phone is busy.
Yeah.
That's right.
So if you're seeking an answer, you have to calm the mind in order and get all the thoughts out of there in order for it to come to you.
Yeah.
And I would contend that smoking is a form of meditation, and it's a form of pranayama. It's breath control. It is a form of meditation.
Yes.
The alchemist hates it.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sure.
All right, guys, we are coming to the end of the show. We're almost an hour and a half here. I'd like to take the last 10 minutes and just do final thoughts. Grandpa Brian, I'm going to start with you tonight. Any final thoughts on tonight's show? Emotional acceptance?
Well, one thing I've learned, and it really works for me, finding time to meditate in the shower. That water's hitting you. It's got you in
that's a
a
good one.
relaxed state. Also, releasing emotions while I'm showering. That water just washes all that emotion away as you're releasing it. That is a really good place to release emotions.
I love that.
I thought it was really fascinating earlier what Paul was talking about, how people have same numbers but different, because I'm a 33, my brother's a 33, and my nephew's a 33. But
Wow.
they're living more of the 6 aspect of it instead
Mhm.
of the master number 33. So I thought
Gotcha.
that was very interesting when he was talking about that earlier.
Gotcha.
Agreed.
Yeah, that shower thing is so true. I find that myself. So yeah, it's very cleansing, refreshing, and just washes away. And then you just are free to get those thoughts. Yeah.
Yeah,
Delabore, how about you? I'm
Well,
sorry.
to tie in with what Brian was saying,
Uh-huh.
taking a shower, that's actually a form of grounding because that water
Hmm.
comes from the
Yes.
ground.
Yeah,
You're in
great
contact
point,
with the
Brian.
ground, so you're
Hmm.
you're you're neutralizing your electron balance in your body versus your surroundings.
Hmm.
Well, what I would have to say about emotions is emotions can make the difference between a life that's fun and a life of hell. And
Hmm.
Right.
that all depends on how you are able to control your emotions. Or again, that depends on what you fixate on. If you're going to fixate on just negative things, you're going to have negative emotions, right?
Hmm.
Right.
Therefore,
Yep.
a negative
yep,
experience and therefore a
Yep.
potentially negative outcome in your
Hmm.
life. You're going
Hmm.
to be focused on positive things or neutral things or just, intellectual things. Well, then your outcome in life is going to reflect that. It's always a reflection of what goes on inside here,
Hmm.
not necessarily what's going on around you. So, yeah, it's always
What
important
kind of
to
outcome do you want to have?
exactly
Positive or
to have
It
negative?
is.
yep,
to have that atman, that
Yeah.
oversoul
Hmm.
look into your life. Okay, now I'm experiencing this. Why do I feel this way?
Yeah.
Is there? Let's
Yep.
get to the bottom of it.
I love that. I love that. How about you, Hope? Your final
Um,
thoughts on emotional acceptance?
yeah, I think both I agree with a lot of the things that they just said. The shower is a wonderful place because it is grounding. That's where I've gotten a lot of my aha moments, because you're quiet, and there's even a meditation that was given to me for the shower where you bring in the like waters of Momoth, which is an ancient type, like waterfall type thing, where it is coming from heaven and coming through you through the water, and it's washing everything away. But you're also very quiet, and
Hmm.
you're able to release things, and also to get a lot of answers from your higher self. And
Hmm.
then also with Delabar, what he said was positive. It's very important. Yes, you have the emotions, but you release the emotions and then you bring in positive, positive, positive. Everything that you want to come into your life, and what you think about is what you bring about.
Right.
Mhm.
That's
And to
Hmm.
say
yep,
another one little thing about the shower, not
Hmm.
only that, but it's a ritual. And
Hmm.
yes.
Ah.
as a matter of fact, in the
yep,
Hebrew tradition, it's called the mikvah, right? And the mikvah is done before the Sabbath
Huh?
ceremony, before the Sabbath services.
Holy
It's a
bath.
ritual
Yep.
cleansing.
Yeah. Fascinating. Sophia, how about you? Final thoughts?
I got something short and sweet, guys, just like
Okay.
me. I'm
Uh
not so
huh.
short. I'm sort of
But you're sweet.
Yeah,
ish.
yeah.
I have potential. Okay. So
Which
I
you
know,
do.
right?
And you're cute too.
And I smell good. Yep,
Yeah.
smelling good. Okay.
Yay.
So
Mhm.
No, no, I knew that.
okay, so this is a little quip. I've been studying the runes, so I've been hanging out with All Father a little bit more,
Hmm.
and here's more proof. So in the runes, Hunyo looks like a flag, just like for a golf tee, right? So its meaning is joy. So when life shows up, you have to adjust your flag or adjust your sail to the weather that's around you, whether it's a storm within or a storm without.
Oh.
So, with that being said, We all sail the ocean of emotions. My responsibility is how I adjust my sail when the sea changes, or the sailor. What experience do I want down here? I captain my own ship. I release what is not mine. I point to the horizon and I smile because I'm happy to be here.
Very nice.
Awesome.
I like
Very
it.
Very
nice.
good.
Yeah.
Bravo, bravo,
Go
bravo.
all father. Woo!
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Woohoo!
Rocked it,
That goes
Sophia.
right in with Paul's. Right in
Mhm.
with Paul. We have
Teresa,
the picture behind Paul and Ellen. Yep,
I
definitely.
love it.
Emotions.
Teresa, final thoughts for you, and then I'd
Perfect.
like to get to Ellen and Paul.
Yeah.
I cannot do any better than what Sophia just said. I agree 100%. So go
That was
straight to Ellen and
great.
Paul.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you're finished, before you sign off tonight, I do have a couple of announcements. So go ahead.
Okay. Ellen, final thoughts on tonight's show? I'm sorry, Paul. Oh, okay. I didn't realize he had the
Pass
headset
the
on.
mic.
Yeah, that's the mic.
Okay.
Final
this-
thoughts, Ellen, on tonight's emotional acceptance topic.
I think sometimes the emotional acceptance starts with ourself, accepting ourself to where they're at and not getting so frustrated with we don't live up to our own expectations.
Right.
Because if we learn to be kinder to ourselves, I think that's a catalyst to learn to be kinder with others, because we're all in this together. And there's part of each one of us that's a part of, there's a little part of you, there's a little part of me, and vice
Mhm.
versa.
Mhm.
And when you're kind to yourself, it lifts others up. Just like Teresa talked about, going out and helping others. You cannot help but lift yourself up when you're lifting someone else up, because it's going to happen. So if you feel like that you're not living up to or you're not feeling good enough about yourself, going out and finding someone else that doesn't have as much and giving to them, a lot of times it changes everything, because
Mhm.
you feel what that other person is feeling. And that's something else I do want to bring up, is the thing that a lot of times people are empathic and they walk into a room with a bunch of people and their emotions change. It's not
Mhm.
their emotions. They're picking up on everybody else.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when you
Yeah,
go,
yeah.
so when you go into a group, be conscious before you walk to the door. Where am I at?
Yep.
Because if you walk in there and you stand beside somebody else and all of a sudden it's like, I want to get that guy, that's not you.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
yeah. And the same
Yeah.
thing with maybe a migraine or a headache. You walk in, it's like, I was feeling fine. I'm not feeling so good. My stomach hurts. It may not be yours.
Right.
So again, the consciousness of knowing where you're at versus everybody else. And then if you're aware of yourself and if you're in the driver's seat, then you could help somebody else. Just like when you're in a plane, you got to get the oxygen on in order
Mhm.
to aid somebody else. So you have to
Exactly.
you got to be there before you can assist.
Right. Right.
Yes,
I love
be
that.
present. Be
Mm-hmm.
present. Mhm.
Yes,
point.
yes.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Final thoughts with Paul?
Here. Your final thoughts.
Final
Final
thoughts.
Yeah. On emotional acceptance, Paul.
Emotional acceptance. Well, I think that it takes a long time, few years at least, to get to where we're in control of our emotional destructive side.
Mm-hmm.
And if we could teach people how to move beyond that and get into their thought patterns, and you can do a quick meditation so quick by just a few breaths and listening to the heartbeat, moving out of the past, away from the future. And a lot of times you'll get answers to help solve those emotions. And one of the things that I realized the strongest is emotions. A lot of times, anger, it comes from fear. No one will ever be angry until they first experience some sort of fear. So when I see somebody that's angry, my question is, what is the fear emotion they're going through?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes, and all of you, and most people that we around every day are extremely intuitive, and we're always picking up. And in this time that we're in now, it is more so. I just am amazed at how intuitive people are, and that really is something that people can learn, and from a platform like you have here,
Mm-hmm.
to deal with their beautiful ability to know what's happening with other people.
Mm-hmm.
That will help, because you don't get involved. If you're just picking up on what's going on with them,
Mm-hmm.
you don't have to deal with it so much. But if you think that's yours because you're intuitively engaged, it can
Mm.
take you for a roller coaster ride that never
That's for
was
sure.
yours.
Yes. Oh boy. Yeah. Mic drop. Boom.
To hell and
Yes.
back again. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I just want to thank all of you for being so beautiful, and so many people you're helping. And I
Thank you, Paul.
I love every one of you. And based on what I've come to believe right now, I like every one of you a lot.
Oh,
Thank
Paul.
you.
Love
you,
you
Paul.
too
We
very
love you
much,
too.
both of
Thanks,
you,
Paul.
Which
Ellen
I
and
tell
Paul.
you,
Absolutely.
we really hope you come back, because
Mm-hmm.
we really
Would
enjoy
love
our
it.
interactions with both of you. You enrich the
Mm-hmm.
conversation. You
Proud
bring
to
your
know
unique
you.
perspectives. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And folks, if you take a look at our YouTube description, we have the contact information in there again for
Yes.
Life's Path for You, Ellen and Paul. And there you'll see their links. And Paul has for those of you who are looking for ways to teach these concepts to children in a very positive way, helpful way, Paul and Ellen have created, and Paul has written a book for numerology, a couple books, right, Paul?
Yeah, there'll be 9
And
altogether.
yep, there we go.
Cool.
Yeah. So they've got books for children just to start teaching them the concepts of how these things work, and I think it's something sorely missed in our general education. So Paul's got those, and then they also have a program where they can do the charts for you and with you. And the difference is you're not getting something cranked out of an automated database online, although those are helpful. You're getting the wisdom
Good
and
starters. Mm-hmm.
knowledge of 40 years of experience with these
Right.
two, and with noticing patterns in soul
Mm-hmm.
families. I'm telling you, I had no idea, and I feel so much more compassion, so much more understanding of what's going on in some of my own dynamics by just looking at the numerology. I'll get more when I work with Paul about a couple things in specific. So I think it's well worth your taking a look at it. We also have 2 links for you guys in the YouTube description. Lori and I put in there emotional wellness toolkits. There's a link in there, and there's applications, that you can load onto your phone, so that it's kind of like those health applications where you walk around and measure how much you've walked, but they
Mm-hmm.
actually have these little tickler files that help you. Maybe you just tackle one a day, and it helps you learn how
Oh,
to work with your emotions. And so they have that, and so that might be helpful resources for you all. And Paul, did you need to add anything to what I just said?
no, that's fine.
Okay.
And
So that's how you can contact Paul, and also lastly, unrelated to Ellen and Paul, Sophia, did you want to take just a moment to tell everybody what
Yes.
you're doing and how
Mm-hmm.
they can hook in to be part of next week?
Yeah, please
What
do.
am I feeling and why? So,
Mhm.
okay. Camp Chesterfield asked me to participate in the mediumship and metaphysics conference. We generally go online in the cold months. And next Saturday, the 27th, from 4 until 6, I'll be teaching an online workshop experiencing the runes, which is Elder Futhark based. So we'll hang out for about 2 hours. It's $30. If you go to campchesterfield.com and scroll down through the page, you'll see the different classes. I'm not the only one there. I think they said there's like 40 different.
Wow.
There's a lot, and I'm already signed up for some myself. So if you would like to experience the runes with me, there's your opportunity. CampChesterfield.com next Saturday from 4 until 6 Eastern.
Beautiful.
There you go. So learn some things about the runes. CampChesterfield.com. Right.
Yeah.
Next
Right.
week, Paul and Ellen, and we'll figure it out. Paul has agreed to return to do some actual numerology readings and get a little bit deeper into the numerology with us. So we don't know how that's all going to play out yet until we get together and figure out how we're going to present it, but it's going to happen one way or the other. Right, Paul? You're still coming
Yes.
next week? Yeah.
Wonderful.
So if you want to, we're just going to take a little break from some things and get a little bit deeper into this and actually do some readings for folks, and maybe also tap into what we're being spirit-led messages from Brian and Dalibor and Hope and in those readings, so that we can give you all some information. So we'll have messages from Spirit, Tarot, and numerology. Go ahead, Lori.
Wonderful. I just wanted to thank everybody on the panel. Such a pleasure and honor to be with all of you, sharing this knowledge and wisdom. Appreciate everyone in chat who's made comments, and the ones that are watching, and people who will see us in the future. We hope that you got at least something out of this tonight, and if you did, then we've done our part. And it really is about, once you learn this stuff, you just want to share it with others. So thank you for spending your time here. And you know the old saying, choose love and the rest is cake.
Yeah.
I love that.
Let them eat cake.
Yay. Peace out, everybody. Enjoy your weekend. We'll see you next week. Much love to all. Take care.
Love.
Love you.